Mr. Christopher John Tan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask the Minister of Education if there are more suitable ways to make the Singapore education system better geared towards engendering a job-ready and socially cohesive nation. It is proposed that a cap be placed on the proportion of foreign students in local universities. What about the simpler, more efficient and market-based solution of ending subsidies and the provision of student loans to non-citizens? These monies thus saved could then be made available for investment elsewhere. For instance, it was proposed that self-help groups receive $9 million a year for the next 2 years to be used to prevent lower-income school pupils from falling behind their more affluent peers. This amount is 72 times less than the total amount of $650 million to be spent on the Lifelong Learning Endowment Fund. Some have thought that the government party was famously far-sighted and knew that prevention was better than cure, but it appears that may be grounds to call this into doubt.
Minister for Education.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I believe that the opposition MP of Hougang submitted this question before receiving the amended supply bill. I wish to clarify that the Ministry of Education does not intend to implement a cap on the number of foreign students. Thank you for agreeing with our view for the need of a healthy level of competition. However, MOE provides subsidies and student loans to non-citizens as foreign students inject the vital competition that is necessary in our education landscape, as well as contribute to the vibrancy of our economy. In order to achieve such vibrancy, we need to integrate and accept them, but of course not at the cost of our local students. Please, however, be reminded that there are protective clauses to ensure that the monies that have been given out as subsidies are effectively utilised. Foreign students who take up subsidized school fees will be bonded with a local company for a period of at least 3 years, where they will contribute to our economy. On the other hand, removing such subsidies and student loans may deter foreign students who are financially strained from joining the Singapore education system, which may ultimately decrease the quality of our foreign talent. This blunt policy will have implications on the eventual rigor and substance that we demand of our foreign students to downplay complacency and promote hard work in our education landscape, and may ultimately contribute to the growth of Singapore. This, in fact, contradicts with your concern of the Singapore's education system not being able to effectively gear towards engendering a job-ready nation. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regards to the difference in budget allocation towards the self-help groups as well as the Lifelong Endowment Fund, the opposition MP of Hougang implicitly suggested that the amount of budget allocated to self-help groups should be significantly greater than that of the Lifelong Learning Endowment Fund, based on the concept of prevention is better than cure. However, I would like to assert the idea that prevention is better than cure does not substantiate the suggested budgeting due to 3 reasons. Firstly, both schemes target different societal issues and hence cannot be referred to as a cause and effect relationship. Self-help groups primarily caters to primary and secondary school students from the lower income groups, providing aid through subsidizing tuition on a regular basis. These organizations target the less fortunate and aim to provide equal opportunities so that no student is shortchanged. On the contrary, the Lifelong Endowment Fund targets adults who wish to upgrade their knowledge and skills, thus seeks to make our economy more fluid by improving social mobility and adaptability. As mentioned, these 2 schemes do not share a common target group. Secondly, a higher budget does not equate to a more effective approach solely because of the price differences in these 2 aspects. Primary and secondary schools' educations are highly subsidized by the government and hence require relatively low absolute amount. Lifelong learning, which encompasses technical education, will inevitably be more expensive as specialized materials will be used. Thirdly, the budget allocated to self-help groups is an expense, while the budget for the Lifelong Learning Endowment Fund is an endowment or an asset item. In other words, a balance sheet and an income statement should not be compared using this very blunt statement. As all the MOE initiatives are adopted across all schools, no schools will be left behind. We should value diversity as a strength. What is more important is whether we are able to provide equality in opportunity. What we cannot guarantee is an equality in outcome. We are very easily bogged down by these labels, but one way we can allocate more resources is to provide more opportunities to weaker students without compromising the quality of education for the more able students. This, however, will only work if we attempt to destigmatize the so-called lower streams such as the normal academic, the ITEs, and even what we know as the neighborhood schools. Neighborhood schools almost seem like an apology, and we should strive to dispose the word neighborhood of its negative connotations. This, of course, requires extensive effort put in by all members of the public, be it educators, parents, or even students, for not stereotyping. Mr. Speaker, sir, the MOE has initiated a fine-tune in the way we recognize good schools with the aim of easing social stigma. We have been doing so by simplifying and aligning the school excellence model and the master plan of awards. We hope that Singaporeans recognize that good school is not only the school that produces straight A's, but a good school is also one that caters effectively to the needs of their students and have good practices that lead to desired outcomes of education. For example, the MOE intends to remove the Sustained Achievement Awards, so parents can be assured that schools are striving for excellence in broader aspects and strengths other than their niche. Well, yet again, it is an ingrained need for humans to place things into categories. Hopefully, a more comprehensive award system will allow the parents to look past these stereotypes and find a school that is, in their opinion, their ideal school. Thank you.
Mr. Ang Keng Yee. If he's not present, any other member can raise the question on his behalf. Would any member wish to raise the question on his behalf? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, on behalf of Honourable Member Mr. Ang Keng Yee, I would like to ask the Minister for Education about the feasibility of teaching innovation to teachers and expecting them to transfer such skills to students, and what are the measures that the Ministry has and will be adopting to promote an environment conducive for students to innovate. Thank you.
Minister for Education.
Thank you, Opposition MP of Geylang Serai. In this case, thank you for your question. Inculcating innovation is feasible as curriculums with emphasis on innovation have already been established in many countries, such as Finland and to a certain extent the US, stressing critical and creative thinking as part of their core curriculum. For example, Finnish schools engage children in more creative play through assessment in classrooms using independent tests that the children create for themselves. Such an education system has produced significant results with numerous innovative leaders at the forefront. It is easier to adopt and mold other such curriculum to fit our local education system than to research and develop an entirely novel field of study. As such, educating our teachers will be a feasible plan, especially when foreseeable problems as well as pitfalls can be avoided, which would hasten the educational process. Likewise, this can be argued for students during the transfer of such skills to teachers. To promote a conducive environment for students to innovate, Singapore will utilize our good multilateral ties with many countries. This includes many schools who have been actively engaging in overseas exchange programs, so it is easy to introduce and expose both students and teachers to elements of creative thinking and analysis. A large part of the conducive environment needed for cultivating innovative skills have to be individualized for each school by selective innovative teachers, as innovative learning should not be confined to the four walls of the classroom. These areas can include science and technology centers and laboratories, as well as utilizing workshops for design and technology modules. MOE will also implement a grading system for this curriculum by means of a year-end project and relevance of the environment that the innovative teachers have developed to cater to the student population. Also, all students will receive a report card at the end of the year, where these reports are based on individualized grading by the teachers. Ultimately, it will be a path that deviates from sole rote learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Mr. Earl Sung Shen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask the Minister for Education, how can we tweak our current education system so as to ensure that our younger generation remains highly competitive in the global environment in light of recent feedback from some CEOs that our Singaporean youths lack drive and the confidence to venture out of their comfort zone, as Singaporeans have been leading a relatively comfortable life without much adversity, which in turn leads to complacency. Thank you.
Minister for Education.
I would first like to thank the Opposition MP of Choa Chu Kang for his question. In light of a highly competitive global environment, the MOE can attempt to strengthen the teaching of values such as drive and confidence through two major ways, namely focusing on character development and improving on the quality of our teaching staff. First and foremost, we need to develop our children holistically in all aspects, be it moral, cognitive, physical, social, and even aesthetically. With that said, we are looking at a values-driven and a more student-centric approach, where values and character development are at the core of our education. Values and character should come hand in hand, as character development makes these values come alive. As such, the MOE should look into the establishment of various holistic education schemes such as making innovation, creativity, project work, volunteering, as well as all the community service compulsory to students. The constant exposure to a more all-rounded education will put pressure on young people to attempt more aspects that they are not initially confident in. Next, I believe that improving the quality and conviction of teaching force will produce the intended results due to the fact that values are not taught, but they are caught. Many a times, people engage in either-or thinking, where academic achievements and values cannot come in hand. However, we should strive to achieve both. In order to do this, our teachers have to commit in establishing a holistic education. This must come from conviction and wisdom of teaching staff in MOE. MOE will work with the NIE to ensure a high quality of educators who are dedicated to their work. Also, the society, including our children, must do our part to give the necessary respect to these educators, which is one of the major factors of Finland's successful education system. However, we must note that not everything of value is quantifiable. I repeat, not everything of value is quantifiable. Humans have the obsession to rank and judge. Values of character are of intangible forms, and we should avoid quantifying it, as it may dilute the rationale behind such programs. Instead, we should view these strategies as a supplement to curriculum, as a set of guidelines that frames our education system. Sometimes we expect much more from education than what it can produce. Is more necessarily better? Ultimately, schools should act as a reinforcement of values taught at home. Provide avenues where students can put these values into practice and allow them to learn from their experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.